I thought I knew Robert De Niro until the quiet parts hit me harder than any shout. At 82, the loudest thing about him is the silence after pain. Not a tabloid twist, just real life stacking up in ways that feel, unfair. Cancer cut into his story in 2003 and he kept going. A torn tendon in 2021 tried to slow him and he limped through it. His grandson Leandro was gone at 19 in July 2023, and the grief has a weight you can see, even when he says almost nothing. Then, a late-in-life beginning with Tiffany Chen and their daughter Gia in 2023. Right after the birth, Tiffany faced Bell's palsy, and he showed up in the most human way, not as a legend, but as a partner at 3 a.m. when a bottle and fear feel bigger than any award. So the question with De Niro now is not about the next trophy, but about how a person keeps standing when life keeps testing. If this sounds like the kind of messy but real talk you want more of, that's what we do here at Golden American Legends. So yeah, subscribe if you want in. Because tonight, I want to show you the long road that made the quiet strength make sense. And it starts way before the Oscars, back in a small boy's silence that never fully left. Can I tell you where that silence began? He was a kid in Manhattan who learned early that homes can split like glass. His parents were artists with color in their veins and storms in their hearts. By the time he was almost 3, the marriage had broken because his father came out as gay in a world that punished honesty. His mother worked and worked, turning ink and paper into rent and bread. Grandparents slipped him into a church for a baptism, and that tiny moment drew a line between freedom and tradition that he felt but could not name. He wandered Greenwich Village and Little Italy, pale, skinny, called Bobby Milk, and he learned to hide in the dark of movie theaters. Faces on the screen said the things no one at home could say. At 10, he put on a lion suit for The Wizard of Oz and found the first doorway out of loneliness. As a teen, he chose acting like a cliff jump, leaving school, training with Stella Adler and Lee Strasberg, and studying people in diners, pool halls, and street corners until their habits stuck to his bones. His first film sat on a shelf for years, and every no felt like a slap that somehow kept him awake. Then 1973 cracked open with Bang the Drum Slowly and Mean Streets, and the hurt he carried finally had a voice people could hear. Do you feel how the boy who learned silence turned that silence into fuel? Because the fuel only burned hotter in the roles that came next. And the bill for that fire was brutal. Want to see what it cost? Taking on young Vito Corleone was like wrestling a shadow, and he trained his tongue and body until it felt real down to the breath. Taxi Driver pushed him into long nights behind the wheel, where the city lights smear and the mind starts to wander to places you do not want to live. Raging Bull demanded more than 60 pounds and a year of ache, and he carried that damage after the cameras cut. Cape Fear sharpened him into menace with ground teeth and inked skin, and coming back from that darkness was not easy. The highs were sky high, but the lows had teeth. Once Upon a Time in America got sliced in the edit here, and the loss stung like work thrown into a fire. By the late 90s, he tried Air and Laughter with Analyze This and Meet the Parents, and some cheered while others sneered, which is wild because he was still doing the same honest thing. Off the screen, he built too. Nobu grew from one room to a world. Tribeca rose after a wound in the city. The Greenwich Hotel and Loconda Verde made corners of New York feel like home, and he even backed places in Barbuda. Then a public fight hit in 2023, and a jury said Canal Productions owed more than $1.2 million, and the headlines felt loud in a way that living never does. He kept 2 homes going, a Big Sky farm upstate and a Central Park West place he rebuilt after a fire, because sometimes you remake the room to remind yourself you can. Do you see how triumph and toll can sit at the same table and both be true? Because the deepest cuts were not on a set or a balance sheet. They were at the kitchen table with family. Can we go there now? He has loved hard and messy and often. He married Diane Abbott, adopted Drena, welcomed Raphael, and for a while the house felt warm and simple. Work pulled at the seams, and by 1988, that chapter closed with a quiet pen on paper. Then came Tukey Smith, private and steady, and twins arrived by surrogacy in 1995, Julian and Aaron Kendrick, and the joy was real until the end came soft a year later. Grace Hightower felt like a forever door, with Elliot, born in 1998, and later a diagnosis of autism that changed the rhythm of every day. They filed for divorce, renewed vows in 2004, welcomed Helen Grace by surrogacy in 2011, and then years of strain and money fights cracked the floor for good by 2018 and the final papers in 2021. He still showed up for the kids because he knows what an empty chair feels like. With Tiffany Chen, life opened again, and Gia arrived in 2023. And then Bell's palsy hit Tiffany, and he did the quiet work love asks for at dawn. That same year, his grandson Leandro died at 19 from a counterfeit pill with fentanyl, and the loss bent every room he walked into. In 2025, Aaron came forward as transgender, and he answered with a simple yes of love that said more than any speech. I keep thinking about how love can break you and still be the only thing that holds you together. Do you ever feel two truths at once, like hope in one hand and hurt in the other? If you want more of these real, careful dives into legends we love, hit subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. Because the last part is not about endings. It is about what stays when the lights go down. Ready for that? By now, you can see why the word tragedy feels too small for a life this full. It is not a headline. It is a heartbeat that kept going. 2 Oscars, 4 Golden Globes, the Cecil B. DeMille Honor, the Kennedy Center Spotlight, the Medal of Freedom, the SAG Life Achievement. Sure, they shine. But the light I keep staring at is smaller and warmer. It is a father at a therapy visit. It is a partner holding a hand after a diagnosis. It is a man choosing to work again after surgery and after a fall and after a loss that does not have words. At 82, he moves between orchards and city streets, and the work still calls, but the why feels simpler now. Make meaning. Hold family. Begin again. Tell me your favorite De Niro role and the one moment that proves he still matters right now. Drop it below so we can build a little archive together. Thank you for watching and for keeping this space kind. If you want more stories that reframe the past and make it feel alive, subscribe to Golden American Legends and queue up our next episode. Here is the question I cannot shake, and maybe you cannot either. When the spotlight fades and the room goes quiet, what kind of love do you want your life to be measured by?